We're here with Stuart from Alliance AutoGas today, and Stuart, I saw this truck here, and I didn't see this color in the brochure when I was getting my Super Duty. I wondered if you could tell me about this truck a little bit.
Well, the truck is really a special design. We were hoping to get a little bit of attention, sort of a cool look. It looks even better when it's out in the sunlight because it changes colors constantly as you go down the road. But our normal colors are really the Seattle Seahawks, blue and green that they have. Okay. So that's our normal color at Alliance AutoGas.
Now this is a Super Duty Ford.
Yeah.
But it's in a AutoGas booth. It says Propane Autogas. Your company's Alliance AutoGas.
Right.
Why do you have a gasoline-powered Ford in your booth?
Right. Well, autogas is the term that's used for propane that goes into a vehicle, and that's globally. In fact, there are 29 million vehicles around the world that run on propane autogas. Unfortunately, here in the United States, there are only about 200 to 210,000. We seem to be wedded more to the gasoline and diesel markets, but our company has autogas, and we're focusing on fleet customers, but increasingly we're starting to go to individuals and homeowners. And right now we have under development a home refueling system where we could put a tank at your home. You could fill up in the evenings or during the day. It takes 30 to 45 minutes, very safe operation, and therefore you never have to go to the gas station again. So you could have an F-150 or 350 if you're out on a ranch or a farm, or Chevrolet Silverado. We have multiple engine platforms across all the manufacturers.
Even bigger than the Super Duties.
Even bigger than the Super Duties. So this will go up through the 750 in the Ford line. We don't go up to tractor trailers, but we'll do everything that's gasoline and down. In terms of anything that runs on gasoline engines, we can run on propane. It's cleaner. The nitrogen oxides are down over 90%.
Okay.
Greenhouse gas emissions are down 30 to 35%. And there's been over the last 10 years a 30% reduction in fuel costs relative to gasoline.
Okay, 30% cheaper on fuel. We're finally getting to what matters to me. You can talk about the other greens, but this is the one that I think matters to me. So this vehicle runs on autogas or propane.
Yes.
Does it also run on gasoline?
Well, we do biofuel systems, which we do that for one reason, peace of mind. So let's say you have a longer trip. Right now it's 500 miles.
Okay.
But we could put a supplemental tank in it to go up to 1,200 miles. But if you're 2 o'clock in the morning and you ran out of propane somewhere, you just hit a button and you're right back to running on gasoline.
Can you do that while you're going down the road?
You can go down the road, punch the button, can't even tell the difference, the car just keeps running.
Wow.
So we really focus on biofuel systems. We do have some dedicated, but we're focusing on biofuel systems.
So you said this truck will cover 500 miles with the tank that it's got. Now where is that tank?
Well, we have two different types of tanks, and in this case the vehicle has what is called a toroidal tank.
That's a big word for me.
The toroidal, this is like a donut.
Okay.
And it fits up into the wheel well where the spare tire is. Generally the same capacity as your gasoline vehicle.
Okay.
But it fits very nicely, doesn't take up any bed space, so you're not using it if you want to haul mulch or you need a full load in the back. We also have, in addition, you can put a cylindrical tank into the bed as well to get you extra range if that's something that's important to you.
So you're saying that donut tank that fits where the spare tire fits.
Better called than a toroidal.
That's like 500 miles?
Yeah, you can get 400 to 500 miles out of that toroidal tank depending on the vehicle platform.
Okay, and then if I get this extra tank that I put in the front of the bed?
You can get 800 to 1,000 miles.
Yeah, you know, propane vehicles have been around for years. I mean, I can remember as a kid, we even had tractors that had these huge propane tanks up on the... In fact, the reason my family didn't want them was because they were so big that you couldn't see over them, and they were right there. So is the technology different now?
Technology is completely different because those were old carbureted engines, and now everything is fuel injection. This is actually a direct injection engine, which is really the highest technology. In fact, if you compared a gasoline engine in a vehicle today versus 1970, it's 99% cleaner and considerably more efficient than it was back in those days.
Even on gasoline?
Even on gasoline.
Okay.
But they have so many different options now on the injection type systems, and it took a while for our propane industry to come up with a technology to make the modern engines work well. That's something our engineering group at Alliance does very well, not just for vehicles, but for lawnmowers, for zero turn radius commercial applications. We also have utility vehicles that run on propane. And there's a major manufacturer in the United States that is working on a tractor. Just like, 60, 70 days, the propane tractors were very common on the farm. We think that should be common today because farms in rural areas are already using propane.
Okay, makes perfect sense. Yeah, there's a lot of propane for grain drying and et cetera.
Right.
Our Super Duty F350, we have a diesel engine. Now that was a lot of extra cost. We're concerned about the DEF and all that DPF filter. Some other people are having trouble with them and all. You're saying that maybe if we use the AutoGas solution, we wouldn't even have to endure that extra cost.
You can meet the emission standards without having to put all the after treatment applications that are on the diesel today to make them compliant. You start it with a gasoline engine. We would put the alternative fuel propane system on there, run it on AutoGas. Your torque and your horsepower, whatever your performance requirements are, there's a vehicle and an engine platform that's going to help you meet those. Even if you're hauling around heavy trailers and large load, you don't have to have the diesel anymore to get those those performance requirements that you've needed in the past.
Okay, so let's say I bought a new Super Duty 250, 350. This is the 7.3?
7.3 liter.
And I brought it to you for conversion. What kind of cost is that going to be for me?
The conversion costs are $5,800 to $6,800, and that's one of the things that I think has been difficult to overcome for many people. But one of the things that we've been doing is we've got programs where you only have $1,000 upfront cost, but maybe instead of saving 80 cents per gallon versus gasoline, you save 30 cents per gallon.
Essentially pay over time.
And you'll get your money back generally on our conversion systems when you run about 35 to 40,000 miles.
Oh.
That's your payback period.
That's actually much quicker than I thought. I expected 100,000.
Based on the fuel cost savings. And so that's somebody always asked the question, how long does it take to get your money back? Well, that's hard to say because if you drive 10,000 miles a year, it might be one thing, but if you drive 40.
So I buy my brand new Super Duty or Chevy 2500, 3500. I want to bring it to you for conversion.
Right.
I'm concerned about my warranty.
There's an act, in law, if you have an EPA certification to put the alternative fuel system on a vehicle, install it, that the manufacturer's warranty is not void.
Oh.
So that covers the manufacturer warranty. But in addition to that, Alliance AutoGas offers a 5-year, 100,000 mile warranty. So if anything happens in the first 5 years or 100,000 miles on the vehicle, and any component that we damaged or even turned out to be defective, we'll replace that and cover those costs.
So that would be most of the engine, I would think.
That would be almost all of the engine components. And we've had very little incidents of those situations happening. We found some situations where there was a defect in the gasoline engine. We still covered it because we're committed to that warranty not being a factor for people. We've designed it to where it's really a plug-and-play system.
Okay.
It's very easy to install, and the joke is that even I can do it, but it's just foolproof the way it's installed, and they just run. And what we do encourage, though, is people to get maintenance at 30,000 miles and then annually thereafter. And that's just a good idea because there are filtration systems on the fuel. We're talking about $34 parts that you change out. It's just general maintenance like your oil change. And all you need to do is on an annual basis go through that exercise and the vehicles just run. We have customers that are approaching 500,000 miles on 400 of their vehicles. These are folks that are running 70, 80,000 miles a year. So it's durable. We're confident. We've worked so hard on the engineering and technical side. You put this on, it's going to work. You don't have to worry about it.
I'm wondering what goes into the conversion process. We talked about, my term, the donut tank. What else do you have to convert?
You have the fuel tank, and from the fuel tank you run the lines in the frame up to the engine compartment. When you get to the engine compartment, there are multiple components. We have a manifold replacement. The fuel goes into a reducer. It's an electronic reducer. It's very technical. It converts the liquid propane that came from the tank and injects it into cylinders. So each cylinder has a tap in the manifold where the gas goes in. And then it's all controlled with the software. We have our own ECU, electronic control unit, that plugs in to a manufacturer control unit.
Okay.
So it's emulating exactly what the manufacturer computer is calling for in terms of the operation of the energy. That's the fuel management system. And that's where in the last 7 to 10 years there's been tremendous progress on making all those technical pieces work. The propane autogas system is seamless with the manufacturer system that comes on it, any particular vehicle.
Okay. Do you work with the manufacturers or do you do this independently?
We do. Well, we work with Ford, GM, Chrysler, but we really are doing this on an aftermarket basis. There's some that the relationship is a little bit closer, but it's mostly an aftermarket system. My view is that we're going to have to build the market up long enough. They all know us and they know what we're doing, and they've been rather supportive to me, and we're thankful for that. But you won't see these coming off a showroom floor necessarily until the volumes get up to enough for them to make the kind of investments in it. And that's one of the goals we have for our industry right now.
That makes sense. So how long does it take to do a conversion?
Well, because we've made it plug and play, there used to be a lot of connections and a lot of cutting. It used to be a 10 to 12 hour exercise. It's literally 2 men now do it in 2 to 2.5 hours, depending on the vehicle platform.
Now, Stuart, this kind of resembles a regular gasoline fueling station.
Right.
So tell me about it.
Well, this unit here is what would typically be installed at a commercial site that have fleet operator that has 10 or 110 vehicles, and also would be at a public refueling station at a regular petrol or gasoline station. So this is the unit. And it operates on a card system. You can put a MasterCard, a credit card. Alliance AutoGas provides for everybody with an individual card that they can go anywhere in the country where we have a refueling site, and they can put in their card, it identifies them, and they can refuel their vehicle. Now, one of the neat things that's happened in the past few years is this right here. It's a real innovation. This is a company that does called Staubli that actually is the most prominent company that does refueling systems for racing around the world. But what's great is there's a new system that you just plug it on. It's very easy. You dispense it. The handle is very easy. It doesn't take much strength. And then when you disconnect it, it just pops right off. It's very safe. It's ultra low emissions. And it's something, I took my daughter to use it at the time. She was 17 years old. She was a little bit nervous. And then she did it. She goes, that was easy. There's nothing to it.
Now, when you say safe, I think some of the other propane solutions require me to have gloves.
Yes. So you have to have goggles and gloves. And in this one, you don't have to have anything but just plug it in. You don't have to have all that personal protection equipment.
It won't dispense until it's locked in?
That's correct.
Okay. So I'm not going to have like fumes coming out at me.
You're not going to have fumes. You're not going to be doing any twisting. You just push it on, dispense, and remove, and it makes a very small noise, just that brief, and there's no gas coming out anywhere.
Okay.
It was one of the things that we needed to do as an industry, I think, to improve the safety, but the ease of use for a lot of our consumers.
Yeah, that's a concern.
Yeah, it has been for many years, but the propane people think we're safe, and we have a tremendous safety record, but we sometimes forget that the general public is not used to handling it every day. And so this system gets them comfortable using it on an everyday basis. And one of the things I'm excited that we're working on, it's under development, is a home refueling system, as I mentioned. It would be about 1/4 of this size, but the same tank that you may be using for your water heater or cook stove or even your furnace in your home, we can meter the gas that goes to that those applications in your home, but also have it filling up your truck or your Toyota Camry.
I can share my same tank, my same propane tank, with the heat or water heater, and I would still have this same.
You would have a nozzle that would be similar in terms of its quick connect, but it's a much different, easier, because we're doing a slow fill process. This actually fills the vehicle up faster than gasoline or diesel.
Okay.
But this one will be one that goes a little bit slower because we want to just transfer the fuel very slowly when it's in a home application.
Okay, how long will it take to fill the tank in that?
Probably between 25 and 30 minutes. We're still under development. It's as fast as we want to make it.
Okay.
But we're trying to make it safe as a priority.
What is the concern?
Well, the concern is how do you transfer the fuel and allow it to equalize in the tank's main propane tank and get into the propane tank without using a lot of power or without having a lot of expense.
Okay. So will there be an electrical connection for that home pump?
Well, the pump is actually going to work on a transfer system. It won't have to have the electrical component, but it's going to have pressure differentials that are going to drive it. That's all under development at the moment, though.
Very nice. Stuart, I don't understand Alliance AutoGas. I understand that you do the conversions, but I don't understand your business. I mean, we typically get our propane from our local co-op.
Right.
So how does this work?
Well, Alliance AutoGas has the division that creates the technology that goes on the vehicle. We train and maintain service and installation networks in 45 states around the country. And then we have refueling partners all over the countries, other propane companies that operate all over. So we've got over 60 of those. If you're buying from your local co-op in Iowa or Nebraska or South Dakota, we can put a relationship together with them if we don't already have one, and it's likely that we do. And you're able to get your fuel supply from your current provider, and it's all seamless to you. We just make sure that they're trained on all the things that we are specialists in terms of the equipment on the vehicle and on any other gasoline burning application.
So the cost of my propane is the same as it is through my co-op today?
It would be the same. Now they would come up with their pricing, but yeah, it would be the same, and you might get a volume discount. You'll be using more gas than you would just in your home or maybe on your farm, but that might, that's an individual type of decision.
So what I'm seeing here is this is very well suited for fleets today, and that as the time goes forward, we are moving closer and closer and closer to being cost effective for individual owners. And when you get this home fueling system, do you have a rough cost on it?
I think that's exactly what we envision. Is we're focusing on fleets. They drive a lot of miles. They can get tremendous cost savings and help the environment. But as we move forward, we want to bring it to the public and have these home systems where you can fuel your tractor, or you can fuel your lawnmower, or your F-150, or your Toyota Camry, or your Lincoln Navigator, whatever vehicle it may be. And like the fuel infrastructure that we have now, the home refueling system wouldn't be an additional cost to the consumer because they're buying the gas, the propane provider.
So you're saying this home fueling solution, once it's approved, you'll just provide it like
we do with the tank or the container that you have at your home to meet your other propane applications. That'll just be one more thing that we as a propane provider have there for you to utilize. We're making our profit off the gas, not off of that unit.
I find this very fascinating. I must admit I was a little skeptical because I didn't think this was at all close to something that would be usable for an individual.
Right.
But you're saying an initial $6,000 roughly to upgrade somewhere in there, and of course that's still cheaper than my diesel engine.
Right.
You're saying it's going to be incredibly reliable for the long term. Clearly we're seeing the desire for people to move away from diesel in some of these because of the DEF and all this. So it really seems like this is more competitive than I thought it would be.
Well, one of the problems that we have right now is people say this is too good to be true. What's the catch? And I always have to say there is no catch. It's just we need to do a better job explaining this to people around the world. A lot of countries know how great the benefits are, both from a cost standpoint. In Europe, in Turkey, in South Korea, more than half of the vehicles running on propane. But I think emissions regulations are going to continue to get more difficult and stringent. So all these things that are running on diesel on the farm, whether it's a tractor or whether it's a small mower or whether it's a commercial mower or a truck, I think the emissions regulation is going to be harder to comply with, and that's where we'll have an opportunity to have people enjoy just what they're doing right now, but have another fuel than they're currently using.
I got two more lines I want to discuss with you. One is a concern about safety. I'm a little nervous. I've got that donut tank back there. If I get rear-ended, is it just going to explode like they do on TV?
Now, great question. We're 20 times more puncture resistant than a gasoline or diesel tank. So we've actually had incidents with some of our law enforcement customers. That's one of our bigger adopters of autogas in vehicles right now, where they've been shot at, they've been in bad accidents, and the propane tank was there and everything around it was crushed. So it's a very strong, very durable steel tank that's in there, so that safety factor is not there. The other thing is the flammability limit range is much, much narrower, so the air-fuel mixture has to be almost just right before you can have any sort of ignition. It's always in the movies. You see the propane truck get blown up and it's very dramatic, but the real world is it's very difficult to do it. You can actually go on our site at Alliance AutoGas and see a picture of law enforcement folks with high-powered rifles trying to puncture the tank and make it blow up, and they couldn't get it to do it.
Okay, so the
safety is
okay.
a very important factor to us, yes.
The other item I wanted to cover is, well, where does this natural gas come from? China, right? Everything comes from China.
Well, the great thing about it here is propane is 100% domestically produced. And right now, all the natural gas that you hear about being produced around the country, propane is one of the most important things that comes out of that natural gas. Unfortunately, we're exporting almost 20 billion gallons of propane out of the country every year. So we've got a lot of room to keep it here, use it in our own country, let our own citizens use something that we're producing instead of shipping it off to Asia. So the fascinating thing is we're shipping it to Asia and South America and to Europe instead of using this domestically produced energy source that is the cleanest fossil fuel. There's no methane, so there are no greenhouse gas emissions associated with it. It's a wonderful fuel that just has a problem getting out there in the public and being understood.
Yeah, so we're adding to our energy independence.
Completely adding to our energy security and our energy independence. Absolutely.
Stuart, this has been great. Any other thoughts that we didn't cover?
No, thank you, Tim, and I hope some of your viewers have the opportunity to enjoy this or maybe get a thought out of it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right.
And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim.